but it's done. There's no returning them. There's no bringing them back. It's been a month of like, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And yeah, so, I mean, it's, on all fairness, it's signed to Pam, but like, I'll be Pam. I don't really care. And I should read. Super obvious stuff that I'm not at all interested in. I don't know what I mean by super obvious stuff. Hi everyone, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. Today's video is going to be the damage that I did at my local library sale. So money-wise, I spent 15 bucks, which isn't painful at all, but I maybe picked up 9 books that I may or may not need, but that whole like need, want, I don't know, maybe I should feel bad about this, but I kind of don't. I'm kind of excited. There's a little bit of randomness to this. I feel like any library sale, you kind of wind up with like this random smattering of books. And I had pretty low expectations, if I'm being honest, because this library, which is my local library, has like a rotating shelf of books that are always for sale, and they have like a couple hours a week where you can go in and buy in like their book buying room. And it's either like kind of like bestsellers or former bestsellers that I've already read or like never had any interest in, or something that has definitely like been scraped out of somebody's basement that has seen better days. So again, never been tempted before, moderate expectation for things. And I wound up finding, I think, some pretty good stuff. So let's get into that. I also wanted to mention, so I have been sick for a while, and I am in the phase of being sick where my ears are completely plugged. So in my head, I sound like I'm screaming right now because I can't hear. So I feel like I'm raising my voice. So if my voice is like all over the place and super loud and I sound moderately weird, that's why. So let's just roll with it. Let's talk about the books. So we're going to start with the paperbacks, which were $1 each. And the first one I picked up was Frederick Bachman's A Man Called Uwe. Or Ove. I don't know if it's Uwe or Ove, but whatever. A Man Called Uwe. Here it is. If you've been following my channel, you know I am a new discoverer. I don't know if that's a word. I have newly discovered Frederick Bachman. I read Beartown in January, and I had heard a bunch of people talking about him on BookTube last year, specifically talking about Beartown, talking about this book, and I loved that book. Like, to the obsession, 5 stars, incredible writing, incredible storytelling, incredible characters, all the feels, loved it. And like any other author, when that happens, I definitely want to see what else has come sort of out of their canon. And this is a book in particular that I've heard a lot about. I had somebody comment on my channel that they were jealous that I get to discover this book for the first time, and I just loved that comment and loved that concept. So I picked it up. I'm bummed the cover is like a little bit dinged, but again, it was $1, and I figure if I fall in love with this, I'll go on like the stalker trail of looking for a better version of it, and then I will donate this one forward to somebody else. But yeah, book number 1. The second book I picked up is Nick Hornby's Juliet Naked, and I actually watched this movie I want to say back in January, because Ethan Hawke is in it, and I am obsessed with Ethan Hawke. So it's Ethan Hawke and Rose Byrne and Chris O'Dowd, maybe? It's the cop from Bridesmaid. I always forget his name. But it was funny. It was good. I love Ethan Hawke. I live for him. And when I saw this book, I was like, I don't even care that I've seen the movie. I still want to read the book. And if you've ever read anything Nick Hornby, you understand sort of like the humor that he has and the beautiful stories that he writes. And this is really a story about relationships. And it's about Annie and Duncan, who are sort of like long-term life partners who are living together in England. And they sort of have like this kind of like, sort of painted as this like mundane kind of routine life. And one of Duncan's obsessions is this former rock star songwriter, Tucker, who's an American who was sort of like at the height of his career and just sort of like walked off stage one night and has never been heard from again and has been in seclusion. But Duncan's character and sort of this group of friends that he has online are just obsessed with Tucker, and Annie just can't take it because this literally like takes his entire life. Like he has like a shrine to him and pictures everywhere in the house, and he's just obsessed with like this 90s rock star. So she goes online to Duncan's blog and sort of tells all of her feelings about sort of what it has been and how overrated and everything else that she thinks he is, and how overrated Tucker is. And then there become sort of these surprising consequences in that Tucker reaches out to Annie and they form this friendship. And from there, things start to take off even more. So I'm doing a terrible job giving a synopsis of this book. The movie was cute. It was good. It's really about like relationships. I'm sure the movie just sort of dipped the toe in what the book is, so I'm curious to read more about it. And kind of like it says on the back, how Nick Hornby uses this intriguing canvas to explore why it is so often we let the early promises of relationships, ambition, and indeed life evaporate. And he comes to some surprisingly optimistic conclusions about the struggle to live up to one's promise. So it was charming, it was funny. I love relationship stories. I love sort of uncertain kind of relationship stories. It's a lot of talk, which reminds me a lot of kind of like Before Sunset and Before Sunrise, those Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy movies that they did with Richard Linklater. But I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed Nick Hornby. And for $1, I have no doubt I'm going to enjoy it even more. And the last paperback I picked up is Watermelon by Marian Keyes. And this is her first book, which I already own. And I've pulled off my bookshelf so you can see it. So I own the mass market paperback. This came out in 1995. I didn't buy it then, but I probably didn't buy it too long after that. And I bought it for $7 at Borders, so you can tell how old this is because it's a Borders book. But I'm trying to sort of cycle out some of my mass market paperbacks with better copies. And I found this one, which I was really surprised to find. So I'm really happy about it. It's in good condition, so I'm going to do a swap-a-roo with this one. And again, this was her first book. It's kind of the first in her Walsh family series with Claire, and it's about sort of how she's getting divorced from her husband or separated from her husband, and she has a new baby, and how she's dealing with him sort of coming back into her life and her family of support. It's, I hate to qualify this as chick lit, which I think is how some of Marian Keyes' books kind of fell, but she always explores sort of these much deeper issues and these much deeper relationships and much more complexity to it. So I haven't read this book in forever, but I'm excited to read it again. I'm excited to have a bigger, better copy of it. And I couldn't resist at all. Now I will admit, this gets like really pretty random at this stage of the game, but I don't even know what some of these books are about. But I'm going to show them to you and we're going to look at them and we're going to see what happens. So the first one I got is Kate Atkinson's Life After Life. And I had done the Choose Your Year book tag, and I picked 2004 as my year, and the whole point was to look at books that came out that year, and there was a whole bunch of questions on it. I'll link it for you guys. And Kate Atkinson's Case Histories had come out that year, and I have not read anything by Kate Atkinson, but much like Frederick Bachman, she is someone who comes up over and over again on people's booktube channels, and over again with booktubers that I love and whose tastes I trust and whose opinions I value. So this is a book that I had picked up a lot kind of in the bookstore and debated it, but I wasn't sure if it was really my cup of tea, and kind of kept putting it back down again. But when I saw it, and I saw it in like basically beautiful condition, I went for it. $2, went for it. And this is a book, and I guess it's kind of like historical fiction. There's a plug from Gillian Flynn on the inside, so I mean, sign me up seriously. But it's this girl, or this woman, Ursula Todd, is born to an English banker and his wife in 1910, and she dies before she can draw her first breath. On that same cold and snowy night, she is born, lets out a wail, and embarks on life. So my understanding is I don't know if she dies and is reborn again and again, but it sounds like as she grows, she also dies repeatedly in a variety of ways, marching towards the cataclysmic world war. So I'm not sure where this is going to go. It says it's darkly comic, deeply poignant. Kate Atkinson at her absolute best. I am excited to discover her. I will confess I did by Case Histories from Book Outlet, which I'm waiting for that to show up, and when it does, you'll get to see all that box of shame. But I'm excited to have this. This cover is absolutely gorgeous. I'm excited to kind of get out of my zone and start reading some more by these authors who I've heard such great things about, because I really do feel like I'm missing out by not reading Kate Atkinson. The next book is random, not only in what it is, but that it was there. And if anyone recognizes this book or this author, definitely comment down below, because we need to have a conversation about it. And it's Perfect Fifth by Megan McCaffrey. And I dug out of my shelf. This is a series. This is the last book in the series. So Sloppy First is the first book. And this came out in, I want to say 2001. I looked before I started this. Yes, 2001. And it's a kind of a coming of age story about this girl, Jessica Darling. She's 16 years old. She lives in suburban New Jersey. Her hometown sounded very much like the town I grew up in New York. Her best friend Hope moves away, and it's sort of Jessica navigating high school without her best friend by her side, and sort of all the crap that comes along with being 16, with popularity in school and the parents and the boys and the parties, and fitting in and not fitting in, and kind of figuring out who you are. And I loved it so much. I gobbled up, the next 3 books after it, which take us kind of like, I think till Jessica's like 23 or 24-ish. And she has sort of been in this on-off relationship with one character. And then I never picked up the last book. I think I sort of I don't know if I just didn't even realize it was happening or moved on to other things. And this is the conclusion to the series, which came out in 2009. I think she wrote this. Yeah, 2009. And this is told from the perspective of the guy who has been in and out of Jessica's life the entire time. So I've never read this. I haven't read this series in I can't even tell you how long, but I'm so excited to sort of rediscover it. This gives me such good feels. Megan McCaffrey's such a great writer. She's smart and she's funny, but it's emotional and it's heartwarming and heart-tugging. And again, I didn't read it when I was 16 years old, but I completely related to Jessica and everything that she went through. And I think Megan McCaffrey is just such a talented writer, and I just loved it. So I couldn't believe when I saw this. And also I have the rest of the collection on my shelf, and I now have a complete collection. So this to me just felt like divine intervention in some way. I definitely need to go back down this rabbit hole. They're not big books by any stretch, so I'm gonna figure out a way to fit this into my life, so I can read them from the beginning and see how this story ends. The next book I picked up is one I actually already own, but I have it on my iPad. So to have the hard copy of this is amazing. And it's Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. And if you don't know what this book is, this book was by far her breakout book. There's an HBO series. The second season is coming. And this focuses on a group of moms, and kind of primarily on 3 of them, Madeline, Celeste, and Jane. And the book opens with a murder. So you know that somebody dies at this school event, but you don't know who, you don't know what happened. And then the book is told sort of, you go back in time and it starts to build up everything that's happened. And then interwoven in that are police interviews with people sort of on the outskirts of this friend group who comment on the different women and the different things that were going on at the time as you try and figure out who was killed the night of this event. And there's so many different layers to this. There is a big thing that kind of circles around. They're all moms of, I want to say their kids are in kindergarten or first grade. And there's an incident that happens with the children, which divides a lot of the mothers, creates a lot of different opinions with things. But then you have complicated relationships with ex-husbands and stepmoms and new husbands. And again, the rifts between the different women, and the women holding different secrets. And Jane is sort of the new girl in town, and there's a lot of questions around her, single mom. Things that appear to be perfect are not as perfect as they appear to be, and sort of clinging on to finding that perfection. And it's also a lot about the women coming together and supporting each other, and the importance of friendship. It's such a beautifully written book. It's so well done. It's such an amazing story. I cannot say enough great things about this. So if you haven't discovered Leanne Moriarty, or you haven't discovered this book yet, do it. I can't wait to reread this one at some stage of the game. Okay, the next book I picked up is completely random for me. And I will say, I kept sort of circling the table, and I wasn't going to get it. And then I sort of went back on my way to pay, and it was there. And I was like, I know this is like a thing, but I don't really know why it's a thing. But I feel like I need to pick this up because people talk about this book, but I feel like I wasn't paying attention to it. I also feel like I'm going to come across as like a little bit of a hypocrite because I talked about in another video how I don't really do like fantasy and like sci-fi and kind of all this other stuff. So here I am holding The Diviners by Libba Bray. And when I got home, I sort of looked into it a little bit more and I was like, oh, that's right. Like everybody talks about this book, and it's a YA historical fiction. I think there's some fantasy element to it. And I was like, oh, right, this is like something that really is a little bit outside of the zone of what I normally read. But when I read the inside flap of it, it sounded really interesting to me. So throw judgment my way if you want. I don't even care, because this does actually sound interesting. Although, like, God help me, I don't even know what I'm doing. This book is huge. But it's about this girl, Evie O'Neill. It's 1926 in New York. Speakeasies, pickpocket, Ziegfeld girls, and she is exiled from her hometown, shipped off to New York with her uncle and his unhealthy obsession with the occult. And she worries that he's going to find out that she's got a dark power and there's some supernatural elements to it. I don't even know where it goes from there. It is, like I said, it's giant. Apparently it's like the first in a series. 578 pages. Sidebar, it's signed by the author. Hello. I mean, give me a signed book any old day. I mean, it's, on all fairness, it's signed to Pam, but like, I'll be Pam. I don't really care. It has like this cute little martini glass on it, and it just says, "You're the bee's knees, Libba Bray," which I think is great. And when I like hopped on Amazon to just be like, again, I knew this was a thing, but I feel like I've been living under a rock. And again, in all fairness, I have been so high on cold medicine for the past week. I don't even know what day it is right now. But the hardcover of this on Amazon is like $40. I paid $2 for this, and it's pristine. I mean, I can't even. So again, kind of like sloppy fifths. I feel like this is, or whatever it's called. I feel like this is complete divine intervention for me. I don't know. So we'll see what's going to happen with this. I don't know if I'm going to love this. I don't know if I'm not going to love it. I don't know when I'm going to get to it. It says on the back, something dark and evil has awakened. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I love Buffy. I love, like, Riverdale. I love sort of like these teen things where there's maybe like some, I guess Buffy's more supernatural, witchy kind of things that are going on. I love the idea of like flappers and 20s in Manhattan. Sounds kind of coming of age. I don't even know, but yeah. So this is in my life now, guys. And I know I'm horrible about reading books that I bring into my life because I keep buying new ones, but someday I'll keep you posted. This is happening. If anybody has read this, let me know. I do feel out of my element here, but I also like could not resist the impulse. I just felt drawn to it. That's all I can say. Felt drawn to it. Another one that was random but spoke to me in the sense that I recognized this author's name and it was in beautiful condition, so I picked it up, is Force of Nature by Jane Harper. And Jane Harper, so it says that she wrote The Dry, and I think that's the book that I'm thinking of when I think of her, and I feel like people have recommended that book to me as something that I would like. So again, it's in like pristine condition, hardcovers, love it. So this is 5 women go on a hike and only 4 return. So 5 colleagues are forced to go on this corporate retreat. It's supposed to be a bonding experience. It's supposed to build trust, but it doesn't work out that way. So it becomes, we've got a federal agent, we're looking into what happened. It sounds like a little procedural, obviously, which I really love. I do think this might be part of a series, so I just need to look at that first. Again, let's be honest, it's not like I'm going to dive into it today. I do think it's part of a series, which I want to make sure I'm reading them in order. But it's kind of compared to Tana French's Dublin Murder Squad, which I enjoy. Kate Atkinson, fortunately I picked up one of them. So it's got some good reviews. Again, I know I've heard good things about her. I've heard other booktubers talk about her, so I'm excited. Again, good condition, $2. Welcome to my shelf. And for my grand finale, now I will say the cover of this one is kind of banged up, which I'm annoyed about, and I again hemmed and hawed about it, but the book itself is in really good condition, so I did pick it up, and it's The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. And this is another one of those books. So I've read The Secret History, it's the only Donna Tartt I've read. This is a book that people are like, you have to read this. This is going to be a movie this year, so I was intrigued about it. I'm intimidated, like all get out. Again, it's huge. I don't know why I picked up like all these freaking huge books. I couldn't resist. Again, I just couldn't resist it. The book itself is in perfect condition. I just need to put some tape on the cover here. But I've been really curious about this book. I'm curious to read another Donna Tartt. Again, The Secret History is the only one I've read. I reread it kind of midway through last year, I want to say, and I really loved it. So there's like the part of me that just wants to like bask in that Donna Tartt and just loving it. But at the same time, I feel like, again, I'm missing out by not having read this. So this is about Theo Decker, another one in New York. There's like a missing painting. There's something about his parents, Park Avenue, blah, 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 blah. It just sounds really good. Again, this is like, it's not like this is new. This has been out for a long time, but here it is finally in my life, all gazillion pages. This is like a 700 pager type of a thing. So we're just figure it out when we're going to make it happen, but it's here. So there's the proof that like basically no book is safe if I'm in the area, because I compulsively just need to buy these things, but I'm excited about them. I'm intimidated by some of them. I'm surprised that I picked up some of them, but again, I do feel like there's some stuff I'm missing out on. I do want to continue to expand. You know, I've been in such a thriller zone for so long, which I love, but I'm also, as I'm reading these other books like Frederick Bachman, and I finally read Taylor Jenkins Reid, I realized there's like this entire world out there that I'm just missing and I'm missing out on. So I'm excited to have some new stuff. I'm excited to have a bargain. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching today. I'm sorry, I'm definitely still loopy and there's definitely still Tylenol cold running through my system right now, but I would love to know if you guys have heard of any of these books, particularly that Megan McCaffrey book, because I know it's like kind of random. If there's any of these that you think should be sort of like top of the list, prioritize them, all that jazz, all that good stuff, definitely let me know. And I will be back with, I've got my wrap up coming, that book outlet haul is coming, and some other stuff is coming as well. So hopefully you'll be back here soon. I hope everyone has a great day. Thanks for hanging out today, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.